So guys, Maponga is urging all Africans who are in Africa, but basically urging all Africans in the diaspora to come back to the continent and invest in the continent. Does it really make sense? Let's watch what Maponga is talking about. Then we can analyze the video. Like this video. Let's watch out this.
You say we must improve our governance, but you are there. You have a master's and a PhD in governance. And you are telling those that failed matric and high school, that failed all levels, and you left them behind because you were a genius, and you left them behind. You were the smartest in class. Now you are there as an engineer in an Australian mining company, and you are telling those that have remained here that they must improve their systems. They must improve their systems. But you are sitting there with the skills, with the knowledge of how this can be done. I think the diaspora community needs to become slightly more sensitive. That some of you who are out there in diaspora, you must actually understand that for you to make it to diaspora, the families that you are coming from contributed everything that they had. Some of us could not make it to school because mom and dad had more confidence that you were smarter than us. So they gave you a bigger chance, a better chance of getting through the system. You went to a better school, and only to finish in the better school and become a harvested crop in the universities of the world. And now from your position of advantage, you look back at those that remained behind and begin to lecture us on how foolish we are, how corrupt we are, how unethical we are, how uneducated we are. Of course, we are uneducated. Of course, we don't have as much international exposure as you do. And I would suggest that if you are in diaspora, be sensitive. Be sensitive in terms of the way you pass your commentaries. Some of these comments really hit hard in some of our hearts because we have live experiences of how your position of privilege was our position of sacrifice. So you are there with all your skills. Africa needs development, and all the skills that we need for development are out there. The Chinese come here with their own engineers because our engineers are not here. We are drinking sewage water because our water reticulation specialists are busy recycling water in London.
Look, imagine you're just done with your university education, okay? You're just done with your university education. For example, you've just graduated with your master's degree or your undergraduate degree or your PhD degree. Then you try to secure employment within your country or within your continent, and you fail to get some reasonable employment. Then you decide to seek opportunities elsewhere. Is it bad? Will you be dubbed as a traitor? Will you be dubbed as that person who is not a Pan-Africanist? I don't think that is the case. Most of the people who go abroad from Africa, they're just going abroad because they are lacking better opportunities in their countries. Okay? They're just lacking better opportunities in their countries. In fact, if they get these opportunities, the payment is too minimal. Too minimal, even to meet basic needs. I can give you this example. When Professor Lumumba was abroad, he met this Zimbabwean doctor. And this Zimbabwean doctor asked Professor Lumumba this question, that look, you Pan-Africanists, you normally tell us to come back to the continent, okay? Now, tell me, I am a doctor in Zimbabwe. I am paid $50 per month. Can you even imagine that? $50 per month. In fact, this $50 per month is not guaranteed because I can go for months without payment. Now tell me, should I go back? Should I go back in such situation? Professor Lumumba, you know what his response was? Don't go back. Why? Because you Africans in the diaspora, we normally dub you as African extended. Okay? So you are an African who is in diaspora. So you are extending the continent of Africa in the diaspora. Because, as a matter of fact, most of Africans who are in the diaspora, they normally repatriate what they get to come back to Africa to build the mother continent. So I don't think this problem of brain draining is an issue. The only problem with Africa is one and only that of leadership. That our leaders have failed. They've failed to make sure that the young graduates are getting employment. They failed to make sure that those who are getting employment, they are getting good salaries. For them, they just think about themselves. That is the main problem. And that is what is spearheading the so-called brain drain. Okay? And as a matter of fact, I don't even blame the West for brain draining. Because for them, they want the best. They want the cream de la cream. So they are coming for it. Even for you. If you want something, okay, and you can see that thing that you want, you can go for it because you want it. So you are going for it, what you want. So they are coming for the best brains, okay, because they think that that is what they want. And they are doing marvelous job within their countries. So they are respected there. They are respected there. They are paid better wages. So compare that. Should they come back to the continent? No, I don't think that is the case. They just go there to make sure their families are at a better place. They're just going there to make sure that the working environments that they are in, they are at a better place. They are just making sure that their remunerations is guaranteed as compared to them just coming back to Africa and doing nothing. Let them go. Okay? So I think that the talk here should be what the government has to do to make sure that our best brains are maintained within the continent. What will the government do? Because nearly all African countries, they are facing the same problem, brain drain. Why? Because because these countries suffer from unemployment. Okay? They suffer from unemployment. This one leading to brain drain. So we have to go to the core roots. What is ailing Africa? Then when we figure out what is ailing Africa, then we can talk about the brain drain issues. And I know 99.9% of Africans in the diaspora, they don't want to come back home. Or rather, they want to come back home after retirement. Why? Because they think that when they come back home, which is the case, not even they think, which is the case, when they come back home, they'll not be too much productive. They'll not be too much productive because of the environment. Take a good examples of university lecturers. When you are a lecturer in Africa, you are just engaged in teaching students, nothing else. You are not funded to do research. That is why our lecturers are flying to countries where they are being funded to do research. So is it a bad thing? In fact, they are funded to do research. At the same time, they are remunerated perfectly well, living better lives, bettering the living standards of their families. So is it a bad thing? No. Let them go. Because most of their remunerations, they normally send them to Africa to come and build mother continent. So guys, if it's a first time here, like the video, subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye-bye.